4 million people could be affected by earthquakes in the central and eastern U.S. this year. And most of them will be caused by humans. That's right, humans.
And the earthquakes are getting stronger.
Oklahoma is now as prone to earthquakes as California, but it wasn't always that way. On average, before 2009, the state had 2 earthquakes a year that were 3.0 or larger. That has rapidly increased. Last year, there were more than 900. The average, about 2.5 per day.
Puerto Rico early this morning, 5 miles southwest of the island's southwestern coast. It's the largest quake to hit the region since 1970. The power authority there tweeting that one of the island's main power plants has been damaged, as aftershocks are still being felt this morning. It's the strongest in a series of quakes striking the U.S. territory during the past week. Puerto Rico, prone to quakes as the North American plate and the Caribbean plate squeeze the island.
Copy that. On approach. Look over to your right. That drill ship is searching for new discoveries in the St. Malo field. We're about 12 miles out from the Jack St. Malo platform. Coming in for landing. Welcome to Jack St. Malo. This is Chevron's largest deepwater development in the Gulf of Mexico, nearly 280 miles south of New Orleans. Let's head over to one of the production areas. The technician on your right is testing samples of crude. At capacity, up to 170,000 barrels of oil can come through this facility a day. The next stop is the moon pool. Take a look down. The reservoirs that Jack St. Malo taps into are 5 miles beneath us. After the oil is moved ashore, it's processed and sent to places like your neighborhood gas station.
Oil developers are causing the very ground under us to shake. But contrary to popular belief, the issue here isn't fracking. It's actually because of an oil and gas process most people haven't even heard of: wastewater disposal. And it's triggering thousands of earthquakes in Oklahoma and Kansas. 1 barrel of oil produced equals 10 barrels of wastewater. And it needs to go somewhere. Companies take this toxic wastewater and dump it into wells dug deep into the ground. If a well is near a fault line, the sheer force of the dumping can loosen it up, causing the fault line to slip and the ground to shake. But it doesn't have to be this way.
From his sprawling northern Oklahoma property, Mark Krisman has watched many of those tremors firsthand.
And two injection wells.
Buried on his property, a seismometer. given to him as part of a research project at Oklahoma State University.
Oh, I'd sit here off and on for 14 hours a day in the beginning. I logged everything I saw on that thing.
Chrisman is a Vietnam vet who, after retiring from the Army, made his living in electronics. These days, he has time on his hands and plenty of strong opinions.
Oil companies control everything in this state, okay? Everything. It should have been dealt with a long time ago, and they should have shut it down completely, okay? That's what they should have done in the beginning, but they didn't do it.
What he's talking about is this, a wastewater disposal well. In Oklahoma, there are nearly 4,000 of them. Horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing has meant a rapid increase in Oklahoma's energy sector. But for every barrel of oil that comes out of the ground, so does several barrels of salty wastewater. It flows up during oil and gas production, and the wells inject it deep underground. Last year, 1.5 billion barrels of it was pumped back into the earth. For years, there has been talk that all that wastewater was causing a pressure change underground, triggering faults to slip. But officials were hesitant to make the connection. 1 in 5 jobs in Oklahoma are in the energy industry. There are even working oil wells on the grounds of the state capitol.
This morning's quake comes just one day after a 5.8 magnitude tremor struck early Monday, causing power outages, collapsing homes, and creating small landslides. And destroying popular tourist landmarks, such as the Punta Ventana, a stone arch hailed for its natural wonder on the island. This series of quakes comes as the island is still recovering from Hurricane Maria in 2017. The electrical grid in Puerto Rico still fragile since that storm, which shredded the island apart, becoming one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history.
And the United States National Tsunami Warning Center says there is no threat of a tsunami this morning. The governor of Puerto Rico, Wanda Vasquez, saying that all non-essential employees for the government are excused from work today.
The oil and gas industry is an anchor industry in Oklahoma.
Tim Baker is with the Oklahoma Corporations Commission, the state regulator.
And we wanted to make sure we weren't speculating or just taking a wild guess that there was a relationship there. So we wanted real evidence, real science to prove that there is a relationship between the disposal and the earthquakes.
While the research was underway, the earthquakes continued, some dangerously close to one of the largest supplies of crude oil in the world. More than 65 million barrels of oil is stored at the tank farms in Cushing, Oklahoma. It's been deemed critical infrastructure by the Department of Homeland Security, but in recent years, there's been a number of earthquakes very close to here.
Oil and gas found in Puerto Rico. Now, they're saying that the USGS report determined that an area in the south, remember this, south coast of Puerto Rico, containing an estimated 19 million barrels of undiscovered, technically recoverable crude oil and 244 billion cubic feet of undiscovered natural gas and 6 million barrels of natural gas liquids. Okay? Now that right there is the south coast of Puerto Rico. You notice the big reservoir there. Now you go back to here, and that's just in the last 7 days. Now I've stayed away from this fracking, earthquake stuff. However, I'm not affected by it. So if I was affected by it, I would probably have a whole lot different opinions and stories about it. You know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We need the oil, we need the gas, and we don't need the quakes. And as everybody knows, Obama just hated gas and oil. And Trump is telling them, drill, baby, drill.
To find a new way of extracting gas and believed shale could be the way to go.
So what Mitchell started turned into a world-changing supply of energy. And in my opinion, it was a gift from God.
Deep below the face of this barren land in northern Texas lies the Barnett Shale Rock Formation.
We're going to visit a landowner and see the CW Slay #1, which was the first Barnett well that was ever fracked. And the landowner here we're going to meet has...
In the late 1990s, Nick Steinsberger worked for Mitchell Energy as an engineer. It was he who discovered the crucial technique for extracting large volumes of gas from the shale. Thanks to this so-called slick-water fracking technique developed by Nick, this arid land became a gold mine.
So I wanted to introduce you to a friend of mine. Carl Smith is a friend of mine and a landowner in the Barnett Shale, and he's had some wells drilled on his property.
How did it start? When the company approaches you, or what?
Yes, an agent from a company such as Devon or Exxon, whoever it is, will approach a mineral owner like myself, and then you negotiate a contract. They'll pay you per acre on your land, so much per acre to lease it. And then when they come out and make a location, they pay you damages, and also you negotiate on how much percentage you get from 20 to 25% of the revenue that the well produces.
And in your situation, how did...
25%, yes. Mm-hmm.
So you got 25% of
the sale of oil and gas off of that well.
So all proceeds, he gets 25% of all proceeds from the production of each well.
Before operation costs. Mm-hmm. You get yours off the top.
It sounds like a lot. I'm not an expert, but
it could be a whole lot. Yeah, some people got very wealthy. I didn't happen to be one of them, but some of them made lots and lots of money.
So there's the south coast of Puerto Rico. There's the south coast of Puerto Rico now. And I did find a USGS sheet on this. This was a USGS government sheet on it. And this is all in, bedrock, all in rocks. It's all fracking stuff again. They're not using explosives. They're using the deep earth tomography method. They are basically sending millions of watts of ultra low radio frequencies aimed at making the oil or natural gas vibrate and reflect, so they don't have to use explosives or be guessing with trial and error. The side effect is that if there are faults near where they are doing the tomography, the ultra low frequency activate the faults and generate what is happening. I would imagine they mean the quakes.
After a series of earthquakes in 2014 and 2015, Oklahoma's Oil and Gas Commission ordered companies to shut down some of the wells nearby and to reduce the water they were injecting into others. But the earthquakes continued throughout other parts of the state, causing millions of dollars in damage.
When Oklahoma increased regulations for wastewater dumping, earthquakes decreased by 37%. Wastewater-induced earthquakes are a really big deal. So why do we hardly hear about them? It's about time we shake up the conversation.